Welcome to Harry's Hook. I am a journalist, big fan of boxing. I've written published articles on it. I also train and spar. Gervonta "Tank" Davis puts his WBA lightweight title on the line against Frank the Ghost Martin on June 15th in a battle between two skilled, athletic southpaws. In today's video, I'm going to preview the bout, talk about the boxers, advantages, disadvantages, some X factors that could determine the outcome, and then ultimately give my prediction. We start with the champ, Gervonta Davis. He's 29 years old, holds a record of 29-0 with 27 knockouts. He stands about 5'5", carrying a 67.5-inch reach. Tank is a very heavy-handed, precise southpaw with refined skills and clever traps. Frank Martin is also 29 years old. He holds a record of 18-0 with 12 knockouts. He stands at 5'8" and carries a 68-inch reach. The Ghost is a slick and athletic southpaw who is fleet of foot and has some pop on his punches. But if we're talking pop, Tank has the superior firepower. He boasts a 93% KO rate against better competition than Martin, who has a 67% KO rate, and 3 of his last 5 wins have come via decision. I would say Martin's straight left is his best weapon. It's quick, sharp, accurate, and he's used it as a consistent, solid counter shot. He has a pretty nice tight right hook as well, but Davis has shown destructive power with both hands, firing all kinds of punches, though I would say his consistently most potent strikes are with his left. And it's not just the power behind Tank's blows, but how he lands them, because he doesn't unload a lot of volume. In fact, according to CompuBox, he throws the second fewest punches per round in all of championship level boxing. But at the same time, CompuBox records him as statistically the second most accurate power puncher. So he doesn't throw a lot of punches, but when he does fire, he makes them count, especially with his counters. And how does he land those counters? One way is through pattern recognition. Besides pattern recognition, Davis does an excellent job setting traps, especially at mid-range. An example I enjoy showing is from his most recent fight against Ryan Garcia. Davis knows Garcia's been spamming his primary weapon, which is his left hook, so he extends his lead hand to take away Garcia's jab and bait him. Ryan bites and fires his left hook. Gervonta anticipates it and lands a beautiful counter. But some of you might say, those are both orthodox boxers, Harry. Well, 2 fights ago, Tank fought southpaw Hector Luis Garcia. Garcia had landed a nice counter left on Davis in round 3, and Tank quickly began adjusting, often by rolling with the punch and firing his own counter. He not only utilized his head movement in this fight, but also some Mayweather-esque shoulder rolls, which are less effective in cross-stance matchups, but work for southpaw versus southpaw. Alright, let's talk a bit about Frank Martin. He didn't start boxing until he was about 17 years old, a late start for the Detroit native, but he was an athlete who wrestled and played football, and he was a natural talent in the ring. I think one of the ways Martin's athletic background shows is not just in his quick hands, but in his fast feet. Against orthodox opponents, he'll often outmaneuver them and gain the outside foot position and the advantageous angle. I would say, partially due to styles, Martin is a more mobile boxer than Davis. I'm telling you that there is a dad joke in here somewhere about ghosts moving quicker than tanks, but let's just move on. The Ghost makes heavy use of his lead hand, whether it be jabs to set up his backhand both upstairs and downstairs, frequent probing for control, or parries to neutralize his orthodox opponent's jabs. His footwork is his primary defense, and his head movement leaves something to be desired, as he can get caught sleeping at mid-range. Now, Martin has a 3-inch height advantage over Davis, but just a ½ inch on him in reach. But Gervonta's last 3 opponents have been at least 5'8". He's practically always at a height disadvantage, except against Pitbull Cruz, who, not surprisingly, gave him a tough fight. So this height differential is nothing new to him, and he's developed tactics to counter it. One of those tactics is unleashing targeted shots underneath his taller opponents to the body, something Martin will definitely need to be wary of. Okay, sweetheart, time for X Factors. Experience. I touched on this earlier. Frank Martin is a great athlete with natural gifts in the ring, But Tank is also athletic and did not have a late start to boxing. In fact, it was pretty much the opposite. He started boxing at 7 years old, won the National Golden Gloves, and finished his amateur career with a reported record of 206-15. He's also fought better competition than Martin, and on top of that, he's been a protege of Floyd Mayweather, a legend of the sport with an elite ring IQ and a world of experience. Outside influences. Gervonta has had some legal issues outside the ring, some cases dropped, others not. He did grow up in a tough Baltimore neighborhood, spent time in foster care, group homes. Boxing saved him, like it saved so many from the streets. But trouble does seem to follow him at times. Thus far, he's maintained a very high level of performance in the squared circle. But it is worth noting that what happens outside the gym can affect you in the ring. Big step up. Now, this is a major leap for Frank Martin in the quality of opposition and the intensity of the limelight. Now, while it's a criticism that Gervonta has been too carefully matched and has not faced off against the very best, he has fought some high-level competition and been under the bright lights. Martin hasn't. Ring rust. Now, this is an X factor that somewhat applies to both boxers. Martin last fought in July of 2023, so this fight will be about 11 months after that. Davis last fought in April 2023, so he'll have about a 14-month gap. This probably won't be a big factor, considering that they're both coming off a somewhat even layoff. However, I do think it's worth mentioning that Gervonta fought a southpaw last year, Hector Luis Garcia. For Martin, finding a southpaw that he's faced recently, it's ghost hunting. I mean, the last southpaw that I can find that he fought was Kendrick Latchman 6 years ago. Alright, I'm about to deliver my prediction, but first, if you enjoy this content, do me a solid and like the video. Subscribe to the channel to stay updated on my latest analysis and commentary. I appreciate your support. Let's get to a verdict. Now, it's possible that this fight goes the distance because both of them have solid defensive abilities, but I don't think it will. They're undefeated, but both were hurt or buzzed in their last fights. For Tank, it was by Ryan Garcia's right hand to the head. For the Ghost, it was Haratunyan's right hand to the body. There are some surface level similarities between these boxers that I've touched on, but it's also worth remembering that these men took two very different paths to arrive at this fight. While Frank Martin had a late start, he is naturally gifted and has shown some very good skills. And we've seen fighters start late and achieve great success. But here, he has a problem. Martin is physically gifted and a natural talent. So is Davis. Martin has quick hands. So does Davis. The Ghost can hit hard. Tank hits harder. Martin moves well. Tank knows how to apply pressure. And it's not like he has slow feet, it's just that his style is less based around his mobility. Martin has good defense, but Haratunyan landed a bunch of body shots that slowed him down. Tank can set up brutal body shots and has his own high-level defense. A blow from Haratunyan is one thing. It's a very different thing when it comes from Tank. Gervonta smartly went over the top of southpaw Hector Garcia's low guard, and with Frank Martin's somewhat unique kind of high guard, his body is open to be hit if his footwork can't get him out of the way. Plus, Martin's style is less energy efficient than Gervonta's, so if he does start to slow down from body shots, the counters from Tank are going to flow even easier. And really, at the end of the day, Gervonta Davis has a deep reservoir of boxing experience and refined craft. His muscle memory will be a bit quicker. His ring IQ and adaptability, more fluid. I expect Davis to set up and connect with his mid-range traps and wind up stopping Martin perhaps somewhere in the later rounds. And then hopefully, we can finally see Tank square up against a boxer who is truly eye to eye with him. And that right there is Harry's Hook. How do you see this fight playing out? Who do you have winning? Comment below.